everyone, welcome to Bebop Mondays episode 7, the final Bebop Mondays of this year. And today we're going to take a look at some really great lines by one of my favorite saxophone players in the scene today, SEAMUS Blake. And I think I talked about him before in a video a long time ago, but I found a recording of him playing I Got a Right to Sing the Blues, and I had to transcribe it, so let's do it. Now you might say, Christian, that's not really bebop, like bebop. And that is true. Of course, it's a little bit more modern than that, maybe hard bop or post bop. But players like SEAMUS Blake, you can hear that they have studied the tradition thoroughly. So many of his lines are still rooted in bebop, and it just goes a little bit beyond. But I don't want to strictly keep Bebop Mondays to only players from that era, but also a little bit beyond that. So today is the first episode that I'm doing that. And I found this recording of him playing I Got a Right to Sing the Blues. It's a really nice standard that's not played that often. And he's playing it live in a club in New York, might be Smalls, with a great lineup. And there's also a great piano solo played by Dave Kikoski. I might be talking about that in a future video. But he's playing some really crazy stuff, crazy but beautiful stuff in that solo, and I thought I'd transcribe it. Of course, I also uploaded a backing track for that song. Now, they're playing it in D flat, and as a violin player and gypsy jazz player, D flat, I can think in D flat. So I transposed it to C. That's more useful for me. And I uploaded a backing track with the chords that they're using. They're using some different chords from the chords that I used to play for this song. But the chords are really nice. Go check it out. There's a link to that in the description. So you can practice all these phrases on the backing track. And I have a lot of phrases, like 10 or 11. So let's get started. I'm not going in order of the licks he plays in his solo. I'm just going in order of the chords as usual. So I grouped everything together. So we're starting with D7, and he plays this lick that's really a saxophone lick. You hear that often. They play with a super low note and then they go really high, and that's something that you don't really play that often on guitar, so it's nice to add that. It works really well on guitar. It sounds like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4. It's basically just A minor, major 7 in kind of an arpeggio form. One thing I could say, you could also play it, by the way, on A minor. It works great on A minor, of course, as well. Just then you start on the root. If you want to play it on D7, you start on the 5th. Now this works really well on, of course, a dominant chord that is not altered. So, for example, a dominant chord on the 2nd degree, like when you play, take the A train, da 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 dee da, that chord, right? Or Donnelly, the first B flat 7, right? So it works great for that kind of chord. And the first chord, of course, of I Got a Right to Sing the Blues, because that is D7, that's the 2nd degree dominant. Now, the one thing I can tell you about, like a trick I use on guitar, when I play, I have to play these kind of things where there's a big jump. Right, here's a big jump. It's easy to play once you get used to it, but if you have to play it in different keys, like in this song we can play it on many chords, you might miss the jump. So I actually use it like a visual clues for me to measure the jump. So for me, I see my pinky there, and I know now I have to jump with my first finger to the spot where my pinky is, right? Or one fret above it with my 2nd finger. Now you might say, well, that's a very unmusical way of learning it. Why don't you just memorize the notes. But that's the way I play guitar. It's based on frets and distances. So that's the way I learned it, and that enables me to play it in any key almost instantly. So for I Gotta Write This Song Blues, we can of course play it on D7. Then we can play it on D flat 7, the next chord. Then we can play it on C7. Then we can play it on B flat 7 and on A7. Now A7 might be the hardest, but because it starts with an open string, so that kind of messes up the continuity of the fingerings. But it's not that hard. Let's try it. Like that. Of course, don't use it like this, right? Like play the same thing, but it's good to practice, and you can see the possibilities for this lick. It's really usable in almost any song, and you don't have to play it in 16th notes. Of course, this tempo is slow, but if it's faster, you can just play it in like quarter notes and triplets and eighth notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? You could play with it. Here's another great lick that he plays on the bar where it's 2 beats G7 and then 6 beats D flat 7. But you could just think of it for your solo as 2 bars of D flat 7. And it sounds like this. 3, 4, 1. 3, 4, 1. Another great lick for a secondary dominant. Even though it is not a secondary dominant, this is the tritone of the dominant, right? So the normal chord would be G7 and C, but now it's D flat 7. And on those kind of chords, you can also play these kind of phrases like this one and the previous one. Yeah, it's nice. Again, you can also play this on A flat minor, of course. Now I can give this lick the same treatment as the previous chord and play it on all those dominant chords, except for the B flat 7 and A7, because they each last only 1 bar, but probably we could actually get away with playing the A7 lick, starting on B flat 7, because the lick lasts 2 bars, and then the chords will change and will start out sounding outside, but then will end inside. Let's try that. And if you practice a lick like this, then you should first practice it without the grace notes in the beginning, because they make it more difficult. Just start on B2, like this, 3, 4, 1, like that. But I'll play it with grace notes. Sounds a little bit weird if we start on B flat 7, but it ends okay. Yeah, cool. Here's another one for the D flat 7, and this one resolves to C7. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now, this resolves to C7 here, but if we would resolve to like C, let's say it's a normal string tune, we could kind of change this lick to play it on a normal 2-5-1. Right, we would get like something like 1, 2, 3. Here we go. Something like that. So let's play it here on I Gotta Write This in the Blues on the D flat 7 to C7. And I'll play something else on the D7. Here is a lick for the A7 that is going to resolve to D7. Now he's playing, sometimes he's playing B flat 7, A7, and sometimes he's thinking E half diminished A7, right? You have this part where it goes B flat 7, A7. But you could also play E half diminished A7 and make it 2-5. So sometimes he's thinking the 2-5, sometimes he's really thinking the B flat 7. This is the time he's thinking the 2-5 because he starts with like in E half diminished arpeggio. Sounds like this. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, before I forget to say, this goes for all the licks. They're all in 16th notes here because they're fast. And I said it before, but you can play most of these phrases also just in 8th notes. If you could play this on a normal 2-5-1 to D minor, right? Or D major even, but mostly to D minor, when it's you have 1, 2, 3, 4, A7, D minor for example. You could just be playing something like 1, 2, 3, 4, Right, resolve it earlier or start the lick from the second bar. 3, 4. Just experiment those phrases. But in this song, it fits best, of course, on the A7 to D7 because it's a real 5-1 resolution from A7 to D7. Let's play it there. Now this you could call a real guitar lick. It's so easy to play on guitar. 3, 4, 1. 3, 4, 1. Because basically it's just 4, 3, 2, 1 again, and then 4, 3, 1, 2, and that again, but a fret higher. So you start with a triplet, and the rest is just. It's the easiest guitar lick ever. Great, works from A7 to D7. It would work also probably in bar. Let me see, 9, 10, bar 12, because there we have D flat 7 to C, which is basically just G7 to C. So it would work there too. It would probably also work in bar 4 actually, if we would think about G7 and just play. Let's try it. So let's try it in bar 4. Then I'm gonna start on B flat and think about G7. G7 sharp 9. And I'm gonna play it in bar 8 on A7. So I just think about the sharp 9 voicing and then I start on that sharp 9. And I'm gonna play it in bar 12. Is that 12? 8, 9, 10, yeah, 12. And think about G7 again. So let's try that. And you don't have to start on the first beat, right? You could start or on the one end. You can start later in the bar and just have it go across the bar line, and you don't have to play this pattern exactly. You can also play, instead of playing, if I don't play, keep it the same on every string, for instance. Yeah, very usable lick. Here's a very melodical lick. Sounds like this: 3, 4, 1. 3, 4, 1. So the chords say C, D minor, D sharp, diminished, C with E in the bass, because that place where it goes. But it's just basically all C. You can play just C lines. So this is a line for C. You can play that on any point that you have a C chord in a song, or a 1 chord, right, or a 4 chord. But let me play it exactly at the spot that he plays it in the song. Here we have a lick for the part after that. So the F to F sharp diminished, C, A7 to D. Sound like this: 3, 4, 1. 3, 4, 1. Now, of course, this is a situation that you don't encounter that often, right? These chords, 2 beats per bar. So you might wonder, why did you transcribe it? Because I like to transcribe things you can use all over the place. But you can use this in a normal Christoph changes situation. That means like the last 8 bars of a song like I Can Give You Anything But Love, right? Where it goes to C, and that everything less 1 bar, but it's the same chords. Or the last 8 bars of All of Me, even though there's F minor. Let's say it's the last 8 bars of All of Me. Instead of the F minor, I'm gonna play an F sharp diminished. So you would get. You go. It's the same chord, so you could just play them as 8th notes. 3, 4, 1. Right? Or if you want to go to D minor instead of D7, right? If you would get F, F sharp diminished, C, A7, D minor, 2, 5, 1. You can play 3, 4. Right? So there's many places that you could actually play it. And let me play it in this song though. I want to talk about what happens after this, because that's just a line for D7, and it's a really nice line. It sounds like this: 3, 4. 3, 4. Typical saxophone lick again, going from a low range to a high range. It's just nice when you have a long stretch of a dominant chord and you have this phrase that would bring you from low to high. So let's say we're not playing it in D because that's really high. Let's say B flat 7. So then the lick would be here. Or you play it like this. Right, so it fits in perfectly. And on this song, let's play it on the first two chords. So on D7, I'm gonna play it, and then D flat 7, and maybe let's play it on C7 too. So. The jump is kind of tricky, but let's try it. And again, you can play this in eighth notes too. Then we have a lick for the second half where there is an F minor chord. So we have D7 and that goes to F minor, 3, 4. Of course, this would also fit on B flat 7. So we could actually play that, because I don't want to play the whole form that takes so long. We could play this on D7 too. If we think about A minor, it would be here, 3, 4. Or on D flat 7, 3, 4. C7. So let's play it. And of course the rhythms can be very free. You don't have to play exactly what it says here. So actually that F minor 6 at the end is just a long B flat 7, right? It's a good song to realize that dominant chords and minor chords are basically the same chords. You can play the same lines, right? D7 is A minor, and D flat 7 is A flat minor, C7 is G minor, B flat 7 is F minor. So the next line is also for F minor, but we can play that on dominant chords as well. So this would be a line for B flat 7 or F minor. Now remember the first line we played, this one. Let's play it in on F minor or B flat 7. Then we start here, 3, 4. This same kind of idea, but it starts on the third. And it sounds like this: 3, 4. 3, 4. It's pretty tricky with that last jump, but it's also kind of fun to do it, to try it, and if it goes wrong, it's just, I mean, people will appreciate the risk that you take or the emotion of that big jump. So if we play it on D7, we have to start on the 7 of D7, right? If it would be A minor, it would be the third. So then we have to jump to, let me see, high G sharp, there. And then for D flat 7, we have to jump to a G. D7. D flat 7. Well, let's try it. Oh yeah, let's do C7 too. I'm gonna do the best I can, but I can't promise I'll make the jumps. It's pretty tricky to play. The beginning is also tricky. You have to really try to articulate those notes. But of course, you're worrying about that jump, so that makes it more difficult. One more time. That requires some more practice. And then we have the final lick, which is just a 2-5-1 lick. Again, it's played in 16th notes. It's the last system. Has the 2-5-1 in one bar. 3, 4. 3, 4. You know what? Let's for fun. Let's not play it in this song because it would take forever to get there. Let's play like All of Me or something, and then we just played on the 2-5-1 in the first half and the end, and we just played like 8th note, 3, 4. Right. So if you go to my channel, there is a playlist. I'll put a link in the description with all my backing tracks, and all my backing tracks are in alphabetical order. So you just go, it's the second one. So here we go. So one more time, 3, 4. Here we go. And I played a couple of the other phrases, but actually this is a great song to practice all these phrases. I think I'm gonna do that. It's great to practice it on I Got a Right to Sing the Blues, but it's pretty difficult because of the slow tempo, and you have to play some really fast stuff. But in 8th notes it becomes much easier, and if you practice it like that, you can probably use it in more tunes. So that would be my advice, to practice it on a song like All of Me, but also there's lots of other standards in my backing track playlist that you can practice it on. I hope you enjoyed it. I really did. Now there's another solo of Dave Kikoski, the piano player, which is great too. I didn't transcribe it yet, but I might for a future episode. And I think this might be the last video of this year. Yes, definitely. So have a great party on the last day of the year, and I will see you all in the new year. Bye.